All right, so here we go again, an evening and a webinar. I think this is something that you guys have become accustomed to now on our particular channel. And today we have something very special lined up for you. Because if you are a marketer or an advertising professional, or your heart beats for content creation online, or maybe if you are someone who is aspiring to be a digital marketer, this particular webinar today is exactly for you. And why do we say that? Because we have two dynamic marketers of HUL, the largest FMCG company in India today, present with us, who are going to talk to us through this new era of digital marketing and what do you need to ace it. How do they see digital marketing while they plan for their marketing spends? What has shifted in the universe of digital marketing? How dense is the growth opportunity, and how do you become job ready? We will be discussing this and a lot more in today's webinar. We will try also to give you a glimpse of what the future holds and what makes digital marketing specialists to be in the list of 10 emerging job roles in India by the World Economic Forum. To help us do that, as I mentioned, I have with me Nitya Kumanduri, who is the marketing manager of Tresemme, and Shikto Patnaik, who is the marketing manager for premium beauty segment at HUL. Hi guys, and thanks for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
Right. Shikto and Nitya, before we start today's webinar, quick introductions about you guys. As I mentioned, you guys work at HUL. What exactly that you do? When did you start, and where are you now?
Sure, Nitya, you go first.
Shikto, you can start.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Shikto. I come from Bhubaneswar, and that's why the peculiar name. I did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad 2013 batch. And right out of college, I joined my dream company, that is HUL. And it's been almost 9 years of amazing stints and experiences, through marketing, sales, and, different stints. Yeah. I'll just give you a very brief outline of, how my journey has been a very contrasting journey, so to say. I started my career as an area sales manager, where I had to lead a team of 15 people. Many of them were beyond 55, 60 age also, and those were the seminal years of my leadership and learning how to be a leader. Yeah, and from those kirana stores, wholesales, and mandis, my very next stint was in the world of e-commerce, where I had to discuss strategy with the likes of Amazon, Flipkart, Nykaa, and really set up the personal care business for HUL online. Yeah. Again, after these two stints, HUL had another surprise for me where they asked me to manage the brand called Clinic Plus, which is India's largest shampoo brand and the most penetrated FMCG brand. There I had to learn about rural marketing, largely understanding how media works, how these legacy brands work in terms of communications, etc. Did that for about couple of around 3 years. And from there, right now, in my current stint, I am handling skincare portfolio for this premium beauty unit, which is more of an incubator startup kind of a thing that we are trying to do within HUL, where we learn about digital marketing, D2C, performance marketing, and really learn the ropes of how startups do brand building in these new age days. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So it's been a very contrasting journey for me throughout the 9 years.
Absolutely. And you can understand why Shikto is here today talking to us. Thank you very much, Shikto, for giving us a brief about your journey of 9 years that you have spent at HUL. We'll move to Nitya. Nitya, why don't you share your journey with HUL with us?
Sure. Hello, I'm Nitya. I graduated from IIM Lucknow in 2014. I've had 7 years of work experience, almost 8 years, and 5 of them are in HUL. Before that, I was in a sales role in Asian Paints. Within HUL, I started off in sales in Maharashtra and then nosedived into the digital world with a brand called Tresemme. So it's extremely exciting, 5 years in HUL, and I'm excited to share my experiences here.
Lovely. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us in today. I'm sure people who are joining now on YouTube, looking at this particular session, are going to get a lot of information by the end of this. I will start with something that we all have in our minds right now. COVID has rattled companies, COVID has, made dents in the kind of way we look at the businesses, right? And the kind of strategies that we have taken up. And in a big way, the pandemic has changed the perception of digital marketing in the individual's mind also. As somebody who is so actively involved in a company's policies for digital marketing, Shikto, my question would be, has that perception changed for you as well?
Sure. I mean, Paul, we as marketers, try to talk to consumers where they are actually, right? And COVID has really fast tracked the digital adoption or e-commerce adoption in the country, at least by a margin of at least 4 to 5 years. Yeah.
Right.
Come to think of it, let's talk about consumers. I'm sure all of us, Googled about COVID related information. Right. In terms of how many cases, we all figured out, there's a website called Voltometer, which gives you all the countries, COVID cases, etc.
I did it for sure.
Yeah, even even during wave 2, which was really a seriously sad time for all of us. Instagram stories, with oxygen availability status and everything, all of that might seem very natural and normal to the digitally evolved consumer. Yeah. Right. But for many and actually millions of Indians, it was probably their first adoption of getting into these kind of formats and understanding how to get COVID information, how to find a recipe for cooking. Even people have I was talking to my Google counterparts. People were actually searching how to make sanitizer at home. Yeah, right. That's the level of information that's there in the online world. And I'm sure all of us believe that once you have been benefited by something, it's very, very likely that you will stick to that particular thing. And internet over the last 2 years has become your has become your partner in in boredom, in information, in upskilling, in everything pretty much that you do. Yeah, the more and more we have been locked in our houses, the more and more we have been adopting digital and internet in our lives. Yeah. So as marketeers, when it comes to digital, of course, pre-COVID also we used to use Facebook and YouTube kind of platforms for reach campaigns and ensuring that we're talking to the consumer at that new age platform also. But I have definitely noticed that after COVID, every brand decided that because the consumers are there, we are going to do something about it. Let me give you an example. Lifebuoy is one of our legacy brands, one of the iconic brands of the country, right? And it's again massively heavy in the rural geographies of the country, and does a lot of TV advertising, so to say. Yeah. Lifebuoy, when COVID happened, of course, Lifebuoy did a public announcement campaign, which was be it Lifebuoy or any other soap, please just wash your hands. Yeah. Right. This same communication strategy was taken to a new age platform like TikTok, where right. With Badshah we created a rap song of to wash hands, to inculcate the behavior of washing hands for 20 seconds, and that campaign got us some about billion plus views. Yeah. As marketers, it tells your brand story in a much more engaging manner than the traditional TVCs that we all are used to. And B, when you look at numbers like 1 billion plus, you understand the merit and the advantages that this new age platform provides you also. Yeah. Absolutely. And then therefore, after that, there are multiple changes that I can tell you. For example, all of our new age brands are very, very particular about growing their social media following. Right. So earlier, what used to be a very hygiene sort of a thing is now pretty much a part of our daily operations, that every day we have to post some engaging content on social media. I'm sure for Inside IM also, you guys will be relying a lot on social media, right? Absolutely. How can you make organic content work better, talk for your brand and your story? I think these are fundamental changes which are not going to go back. And that's what this pandemic has really fast tracked. Absolutely.
Shikta, very quickly, if I have to ask you this question, in the 10 years, if we look at it, the 8 years, starting from, say, for example, 2012, whatever improvement or achievements that we have had in the space of digital marketing in the 8 years, would you say that in the last 2 years, we have doubled on that?
Look, again, quantifiably, it's something that, hasn't doubled, because we were already one of the companies that knew that digital is the future. Right. So even from the, let's say, as early as 2014, 15, HUL, most of the brands were live on, YouTube, Facebook with true view campaigns, reach and frequency campaigns. That was always there.
Right.
It's just that now we have a deeper appreciation of, how this platform can, really engage with the consumer. So for example, having a blogger speak about a product was not a discussion that was happening earlier. Yeah. Having said it, of course, we're spending more monies, right? Even to create that organic content. Might not say that doubled, but definitely accelerated like how. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And Shikto talked about, TikTok and how HUL joined hands with Badsha in reaching 1 billion people. I would like to know from you, Nitya, the usual days of Facebook and Instagram ads are almost towards, the brink of ending. And we are entering this new world of metaverse that we're looking at. How do you see digital marketing, constantly changing with the evolving nature of the internet?
So, I think interesting you say that, because sometimes where we are right now in the digital world, we forget what the internet was, let's say even 10 years ago.
Correct.
So if we think about what it was 10 years ago, it's largely started off as a very less interactive platform. It was largely just web pages where you consumed information, very less interaction. Maybe in the last 7-8 years, it's really catapulted into something that was a lot more interactive for the consumer. There was a lot more information available. The Facebooks and the YouTubes of the world became much bigger. There was a lot more centralization. There was a lot more data available, and there was a lot more personalized content. Which is why now, for example, if I open my Facebook or if you open your Facebook, we'll get completely different feeds, because that amount of targeted ads are possible right now.
Right.
Now, when we talk about what the future is, when we say in very loose terms, when we talk about Web 3.0, for instance, which is a very fluid term, which is a very big term, which we ourselves don't know sometimes.
We're still discovering it. Yeah.
Of course, still discovering the potential of it, still discovering, what ramifications it may have. I would assume that we are not the product anymore, and which is what some people believe. And we may have, as a consumer, full control of our own data. While this would possibly lead to something called as a metaverse, which is
Right.
a slow progression, which is what people talk about, where we may have a completely different identity on the digital platform and a different identity on the physical world. So in terms of how this may impact digital marketing, while nobody can say for sure, I would assume, and this is completely based on whatever we've been consuming in terms of information so far, that a part of that inspiration might come from gaming.
Right.
That could be, in terms of giving examples, it could be something like playing a game and watching, when you see ads, when you play any game, for instance, today, let's say you could be shopping in the digital world and you get it delivered to you in the physical world, for instance. You
Right.
might be traveling to go to a concert in the digital world and you might see a billboard. So this actually makes you think that you might have to take a step back into going back to the physical world of advertising. But that, of course, is an assumption. But it's safe to say that while, of course, none of us can say where digital marketing will go to, I think it's safe to say that we can comfort ourselves in understanding that the principles of marketing will still remain the same, which
Correct.
is very high consumer centricity and at the heart of everything that we do.
Right. And Nitya, since we are talking about the future of digital marketing and how we are going to reach there, it's important to talk about the future in the career options that are going to come along with that, right?
Of course.
In your opinion, how is that sphere going to change, and what are the kind of new things that we are going to explore going forward from here?
I think it's, in my mind, it's less of new things and it's a lot more of what trends we're seeing right now.
Right.
So if you look at a consumer and how he or she has moved in terms of consuming data, it's less of ads and they seek a lot more authenticity and a much more personalized approach when they consume content. Therefore, I think what will remain important, safe to say, is a lot more content marketing, personalization of content. I think social media is going to remain and be possibly more important in the future. Influencer marketing, social commerce is something that's
Right.
just picking up in India, as it already has in some of the other countries. I think are set to be more important every year. So in terms of careers, one can make career paths very specific to these as well. and not just overarching digital marketing role, such as, it could be SEO, for instance. You have specialists in SEO. And will that be more important? Yes, it will, because content is going to be more important in the future. Social media managers, that's going to be more important because the consumer seeks authenticity. Performance marketing, that's going to be more important because brands want to know where their money is leading to, right? So I think these careers are set to be more important, where they're getting traction already today. And I think it's just going to be more of the same. Underlying principle is understanding what the consumer is seeking from us.
Absolutely. And on this particular note, I want to, talk to a little bit about the program that AltUni has come up with, where HUL is also part of. I mean, it's an integral part of this program. It's a program on certification program on digital marketing. And here we are not just talking about digital marketing. All the things that Nitya has mentioned in terms of career opportunities that are going to be part of digital marketing are being stressed upon. So there is a link that you can see my team has been putting up on the chat box. You can go check that out. There is also a link to the brochure that you can find there. Do check that out. And as we go along in this discussion, you can ask your questions also. We will be picking up certain questions, and we'll be asking both Shikto and Nitya during the course of this webinar. Okay, moving on, Shikto, we were talking about technology. We were talking about how, the future is going to change these kind of roles, these jobs and opportunities that are coming in. Keeping in mind automation, right? How do you think marketing automation has changed the entire scope of digital marketing in a big way? Do you think it is going to affect it more and more in the coming time?
Absolutely, Paul. I think Nitya just briefly mentioned about personalization, right? Look, what digital media offers you is this entire hyper segmentation. Yeah, it's no more the world of TV where you have to put your ad on Hindi satellite, and
Absolutely.
that reaches every household, right? And the moment you're getting into hyper segmentation, you have to realize that there are multiple variables that you're getting added to the equation. You are talking about which audience segment watching the ad in which pin code or which geography, which creative are they seeing, what time of the day are you bidding for that particular ad spot. Yeah, so there are multiple variables, and as there is more and more data that comes our way, let me be honest, as brand managers, it becomes very difficult to triangulate all of that, and then it's almost a daily job.
Right.
Which was not the case earlier during our TV world of advertising. Yeah, and therefore, when you are talking about daily triangulation of so much data, automation and machine learning becomes extremely crucial. Yeah,
Right.
because that's the way you can tell the machine for a particular objective that, hey, guess what? I need to acquire this consumer at less than 200 rupees.
Right.
Then machine will try out with multiple permutation combination. And then they will figure out, okay, fine, probably for this particular brand of product, this kind of TG is the best that will convert at less than 200 rupees. Yeah, so that's
Right.
number one benefit of automation. I think there's also a very subtle angle to this automation process. Yeah, when we are marketers, when we think about advertising, we definitely have certain biases also.
Right.
Let's be I'm sure Nitya has a particular thought about who's the Tresemme TG, right?
Correct.
We always create those assets and creatives, keeping that consumer in mind always. That's always a very good thing to do. Having said that, when you let's say I want to say that therefore my ad is gonna work well with college students. Okay. Here I'm already defining that here's my ad, show it only to college students, and then let's see what's the performance. If it's good, you celebrate that, my assumption and everything were perfect. Let me go ahead and celebrate it.
Right.
The moment it doesn't work in terms of the particular results that you're expecting, you do not know what to conclude. Was it the creative? Was it my assumption of the TG? There also, the moment performance marketing or automation or machine learning comes into play, it negates all those biases.
Right.
Then you're basically saying that, hey, here's my creative, here's my brand creative. You show it to whoever you want. It may be that a 30-year-old married woman in Bangalore prefers buying Tresemme over somebody who's a college student in Pune. Right. Okay, all of those biases that we have as marketeers also get eliminated the moment you get machine learning and automation. And I think these are very initial days of like, us juicing out this more and more. And as you see in future, there will be experts into this field of performance marketing, machine learning, and that will be huge.
Shikta, are you referring that people with gray hair who have seen markets, who would come and tell you in the boardrooms that, we know the market best and we have seen these people, and you're telling me that it's the opposite?
Now that's a controversial question you're asking me. Look, I'll again stress on the part that the principles of marketing are
Right.
the same. Yeah,
Correct.
it's just a different world that we're getting into of digital, machine learning, and all of that. However, for example, people who are like experienced people with 20-25 years of experience, they will always come and tell you that the most important thing about your campaign has to be a singularity of your comms.
Right.
That you need to land one message. It can't be that because there's machine learning, I will tell 2 messages to one person, some another 3-4 messages to another person. That doesn't work. Then you're not building brands memory structures. You're not genuinely building a brand. Singularity of comms is very important even when you're getting into machine learning. And yeah, so it's the same principles in a very new age world, and important to learn both. Yeah.
Lovely. Nitya, your take on this?
I think so too, absolutely. I believe that principles of marketing will always remain the same, evolving very, very slowly with time. And we just have to make sure that the consumer is at the heart of everything that we do. And I also agree on the fact that singularity of messaging is supremely important in this age where we are trying to over-segment our consumers. I think we miss out on the fact that we also need to build a brand. And
Right.
somewhere, we need to weigh out the two options to ensure that we do what's best for the long-term potential of the brand and not what's giving us immediate returns.
And makes me question both of you, Sikta and Nitya, while you are building a particular brand, so for example, from scratch, or whose identity is not defined in the heads of people, right? How do you use digital marketing to the fullest possible capabilities? And where should I start and how do I go about it? Plan.
Sure. Nitya, let me start on this and you can add. Look, again, like I said, the principles of marketing are something that will always exist. So when we normally craft a new brand, yeah, you always start with the consumer. The only difference is that earlier we used to go and visit the consumer at their home. Today you have all these digital ways of figuring out what your consumers want. Yeah, I'll give you a very simple example of use of technology and digital.
Right.
You guys put Instagram stories with these two kind of questions that this or that, or poll studies, all of that, right? That itself, okay, actually is getting almost thousands of consumers inputs in a single click, which earlier used to take about 30 days for us to go from one consumer to another to collect that input.
Right.
The way of crafting the brand is still going to be based on that consumer insight. What will be my proposition? How does my product marry to the proposition I want to land in the market? Yeah. But the ways of doing A/B testing, now it's not A/B testing, it's A to Z testing. You can test multiple things. It's no more that I can show 2 different concept cards and then say that pick one between the 2. I can actually show 100 concept cards today because digital has allowed you for that. We normally use something called as a brand lift study. Again, I'm sure you guys will be seeing ads before YouTube ads, you have these questionnaires. Right. Again, all of that is so relevant consumer information that comes our way. That aspect of decoding and mining consumer insights has become way faster and way more agile. But the fundamentals, like I said, it's still the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nitya, your take on this?
I agree. And I just wanted to add into everything that Sikto said that I think something, if we're starting a new brand, something that digital can offer us, which is an advantage that's available to everybody and therefore makes it more complex, is the fact that you can leverage data immediately. So, today I know if I run a campaign, I know 1 week from now that whether it's going to be a success or not and pivot accordingly, which is probably why there are so many more new brands in the market today, which makes it complex for us, but it's also very challenging for all of us. So I think that's something that, makes it much easier for a new brand to enter, makes it much easier for anyone to start a brand today, makes it much easier for people to pivot their strategy as well.
Right. Absolutely. Now is the time that I will take a few questions from the chat box, questions that we have received so far. I think Bhagyashree is little angry with us. She says that it's an AMA session. Let us ask questions. We will let you ask questions, Bhagyashree, and we have time for that. The first question that I want to ask you guys is, Keshav Agarwal is asking question for both. For a very long time, only a few individuals will have access to the metaverse. In such a scenario, how should organizations decide customer acquisition cost? Very interesting question. It's a question that is, coming in the future. I'm sure we are still, finding our ways into how to get into metaverse. But any ideas on this, how it might turn out to be? What is your hunch? I'm sure there is no right or wrong answer to this.
No, absolutely there isn't. Just to clarify, the question is, since a very few organizations and brands will have the access to the metaverse, how do you decide on customer acquisition cost?
Right.
I think if we do believe in the future of the metaverse, and I know it's a very generic answer, but I do believe in this principally. If we believe that there is going to be a future with metaverse, I think that we need to be very careful in looking at customer acquisition costs on the metaverse versus digital today. The reason I say that is because there is a certain advantage of being an early entrant in the metaverse, because you also get to learn where the metaverse is going in itself. So I feel like in the beginning, and metaverse is not going to hit us like a storm. It's going to happen very slowly over the next maybe 5 or 10 years. Decentralized internet, again, I don't think that it's going to happen overnight. Although there have been talks of this for the longest time, it's not something that's going to be an overnight difference. So I feel like we shouldn't be looking at acquisition costs as keenly. But if we had to, then of course, look at the metaverse versus your regular digital platforms. Look at your customer acquisition costs today. Compare that with the metaverse. See if it's making sense for you. Having said that, I don't think, at least in the beginning, that very few brands will have access to it.
Right.
I feel like if the metaverse starts off being a bigger thing than we believe, I think that it'll be a lot more open because there will be monetization required, and there'll be very low cost for entry, which might make sense from a customer acquisition point of view as well. That's what I think.
Absolutely. Shikhar, do you have anything to add, or I'll move to the other questions?
Largely covered. I'll just add one more point
Sure.
to this. Like Nitya rightly mentioned that, when you're talking about consumer acquisition cost, as a marketer, you will not be fixated about metaverse. You will actually think about is metaverse a cheaper way for me to acquire consumers versus an Instagram ad, versus a YouTube ad, or even versus, let's say, a community group on Facebook. Yeah, all of these, we as marketers spend money to get into, and it's about engaging with the consumer better and better. Yeah.
Right.
So one plus point on metaverse will be, of course, that, because the level of engagement will be better. So probably your conversions will be better, and therefore your CAC starts to make sense better. Yeah. The other aspect probably is because every new platform takes its time for every brand to come on board. So the sooner you enter there with lesser clutter, you will actually have favorable rates for you as a marketer. So yes, it's something that you must experiment as a marketer, and of course, nobody knows yet what is going to be CAC number.
Correct.
And yeah, we'll see.
Absolutely. There are two questions that I'm going to bunch up right now. Aditi Akuri is asking how to upscale and have a good footing as a marketing fresher in the evolving industry. That's one. And the second question is Sayam Jain asking what skills are needed to progress. So anybody who wants to take it up.
Sure. Let me start. Nitya can add to this. Look, I really believe that the future of marketing is going to be very heavy on the online side of things. Yeah. And therefore, anybody who understands, let's say, how does a YouTube algorithm works, how does content work on Instagram, how does influencer marketing work, all of that is gonna really make you favorable to the companies like HUL and all. Yeah.
Right.
So that's a huge plus point. And if you say that, you are somebody who hasn't had any experience of, doing digital marketing, there are multiple courses that are out there. I remember, like, about 5-6 years back when I had started my ecom role, there used to be this Google Digital Garage. It's almost a 40-50 hours kind of course. And every week I used to do about, 5-6 hours. But those were the fundamentals of digital, even understanding what is a click-through rate, what is a cost per acquisition, all these terms, just start getting yourself familiar with it. Yeah, that's one side of the preparation. The other side is, of course, like, you yourself are a very like fluent consumer of Instagram, YouTube, influencer marketing and all. So when you're being a consumer, try to put your marketing hat on. That, hey, like, I'm sure you guys have come across, branded posts where brands have spoken to you through influencers. Start evaluating, like, is it good? Is it too branded? Is it not looking authentic? So, you just start putting your marketing hat on, and trust me, it's not rocket science. Once you understand jargons, you guys will be better digital marketers than us, because we still belong to a world where there was no social media at one point of time. So we are catching up, and you guys are already there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And on this note, I would like to share something with the audiences also that I mentioned earlier as well. There is a link that my team is putting up in association with the Hindustan Unilever Limited. AltUni has come up with a program. If you really want to upskill yourself, this is the kind of program that you might want to look into. We are talking about everything that we have discussed so far in this particular program. Content marketing is part of this, creative storytelling, brand marketing, a lot of things related to influencer marketing, performance marketing, you name it, and we have it in this particular platform. And do check that out. This is a brochure that I've been showing you on the screen right now. Give it a shot. See what is there in the program. The link is given in the chat box. Do check that out. Moving on. In our conversation, we have taken a few questions, and I would like to, get back to our own discussion that was happening, and we might take more questions as the time progresses with the webinar also. Nitya, I would like to come to you, for someone who has not joined a B school yet, because all of this that we were talking about till now needs a specific set of skills, right? Needs a specific set of understanding of the particular markets, or how do you exactly set those audiences up, and how do you go about doing your marketing, right? How do those people, who has not yet joined a B school, learn the flavor of digital marketing in a way that becomes a plus point when they either join a B school, or maybe, if they have their own businesses, they can use this?
So I think that if someone has not joined a B school, they shouldn't be worried. I don't know how the curriculum is these days in B schools, but we never learned any digital marketing when we were studying MBA. So I don't think that's a problem. We've learned largely on the job,
right.
Fewer courses than on the job, but now things are changing. I think that with the information that's available on the internet today, there are a number of resources that people can look at and learn. I think I would just like to leave one tip to people who are willing to learn digital marketing in general, is to start off with width first, because I think it's very easy to get into the jargon of digital marketing, into SEO, content marketing, influencer marketing. I'm sure there are courses for each of that today. However, although it's a very loose term that digital marketing has, which has all of these things, I would still want people to go and get the width of knowledge before getting into what they might be good at and what they might want to pursue, because they'll understand a flavor of everything that under the ambit of digital marketing to begin with.
Absolutely. And this goes with a lot of questions that I have also received on the YouTube chat. Somebody is asking, does digital media marketing need coding, right? How can I start our career in digital marketing? So my question to you, Shikto, is, somebody who is a beginner, how does that person, make sure that they have a great career ahead? As I mentioned, as I asked Nitya also, that, it's not necessary that you have to go and work in a conglomerate or a company which has processes set. Maybe it's your own business that you want to start, right? Maybe it's your own brand that you want to grow. How do you go about that?
Yeah, Paul, I think today information is so accessible. I can tell you about myself, of course, we get a lot of learning material and courses on at Unilever. But there are still things like, for example, performance marketing. I personally have learned most of it from YouTube and podcasts. Yeah,
Right.
that information is accessible to everybody. Yeah, and the other side of things is, let's say, a platform like Facebook or Google has actually made it possible for every entrepreneur to start things on their own. Like if you go on Facebook Ad Manager, and let's say you live in Andheri area of Bombay, you want to sell cupcakes, making out of your own home. You can
Right.
actually target exactly this one pin code, spend 3,000, 4,000 rupees just to learn it. And your ad will be actually there on mobile screens across you in Andheri. Yeah, you can drop whatever messaging you want to, here's fast selling cupcakes, you want to get it right now. I'm going to come and deliver to you. Just do that. Just explore the world. Keep accessing all these information touch points and get your hands dirty yourself. You don't need a big company or small company or anything if you want to learn digital marketing. In fact, it's the other way around. When it came to TV advertising, like Nitya mentioned, we were not taught about that in college. We learned that because HUL over last so many decades has perfected how to go about TV advertising, and we still do that. So that
Right.
comes as like legacy that we get to learn from the experts themselves. But digital ad marketing is actually very something that's accessible to everybody. So don't be shy. Go ahead, search it on Google, and you can learn, try it on your own. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. And to further this conversation, Nitya, I have a question for you. People come in from different backgrounds, and this reminds me of one question that I just read on the chat box. People come in from sales, business consulting, data analysts, supply chain management, ops, FMCG, and whatnot, right? And these people, they want to make a successful career in digital marketing because as I mentioned in the beginning of this particular session, that the World Economic Forum terms digital marketers to be one of the emerging career opportunities, and everybody wants to be there, right? How do they start, and how do they go about making that transition? How do they plan it? Is it going to be a very sudden one, or is it going to be a long-term one that they have to look into and soak themselves and then transform them?
So I think maybe we can break that down into two parts. One is, of course, if you come from a sales background. Just to give you an example, when we all started off in HUL, we started off doing sales because that also gives you a very ground up level of knowledge before you move into your marketing stint. And that's a natural progression. You have knowledge of market know-how, and then you go and try to market your product, right? So, and I think now, irrespective of the product you handle, I'm largely speaking for most brands that all of us know today. Your entry into digital marketing will be very smooth because you have consumers on digital. You will figure out how to reach them and how to make information accessible to them. When you're coming from a different background other than sales, it gets slightly more complicated because it's not a natural career progression. But the only advice that I would probably give is to take up a course that gives you some sort of a career opportunity in digital marketing, and not just be focused on learning and assimilating information. I think that's something that I would like to mention here.
Absolutely. Lovely. Shikta, I'll move to you now. FMCG products have been giants in India also. When you see HUL's teacher where you work in, right? They have huge markets, and with that huge market, because everybody wants the share of that huge pie, huge chunk that is there, right? So that calls for great competitors also that you have. So in this regard, how does an HUL maintain their customer base? How do you make sure that people come back to your products again and again? And do you think digital marketing plays a big role in that?
Sure. So Paul, again, that's quite a big question. Let me break that down, and I'm gonna be a little scientific about my answer.
Sure.
Look, the most critical aspect of growing a brand is penetration. Okay, the more number of consumers buying you more number of times is definitely leading to brand growth. And like you mentioned that how do you maintain that penetration? It's very tricky. It's the trickiest thing of the entire all the P's that are there in marketing. Yeah. So I want to explain that think of consumers as a almost like a leaky bucket. Yeah, a bucket which is like, you have a tap on, you're getting new consumers every day. There are also consumers who are like, going away, who are not getting retained by your brand. And that's the most natural thing that is there in across, FMCG, electronics, every form of like, marketing that is there. And think about your own behavior also. It's very rare that, we stick to that one particular brand. We keep trying different brands, and that's how the leaky consumer bucket comes into play. Now, when you think about that consumer bucket, it's largely comprised of, I can say 3 type of consumers. Okay. You have the light consumers of a category, who probably like, buy that category once in a year or twice in a year. Yeah. And then you have medium, and then you have the heavy users of that category who buy that category like, multiple times. Yeah. Let me give an example. I used to be this brand manager for a brand called Brill Cream. So hair wax. Yeah. It's a classical MD job, a marketing development job, where not many people actually use, the product, a hair wax. They never understood, what is the job of a hair wax. I personally am probably a heavy user of a hair wax. I use it almost every week, every month. And therefore, by default, I will know more number of brands. I will be more aware of, the kind of products that come in this portfolio. As compared to me, let's say there's somebody who knows that, only on a particular festive day, only during Diwali, I have to set my hair.
Right.
They are the light users of that category. By default, that person will not know all the players, all the different types of, holding power that is there in a wax. They will not know that much. Yeah. So as a marketer, your job is not to convert this heavy user, because he or she already knows everything that is there. They are aware of the brand, they're aware of the category codes, they're aware of everything. It is the light users where you have to stay top of mind.
Right.
Yeah. And therefore, when you plan media and anything, you always plan for reach. That I want to reach as many people as possible at the lowest cost. Yeah. And that's where digital marketing comes really helpful, because, you can reach multiple people, you can segment them, you can identify, your most obvious light buyers. And that's how, like, digital marketing has actually, like, taken a lot of spends that used to be going only into TV earlier. Yeah. But the fundamentals of, like, talking to the light buyer is, very important to maintain that consumer base, because you can't hold on to that consumer. You have to buy. They will be a leaky bucket end of the day. You have to keep adding more consumers so that your acquisition is higher than your lapsers. Yeah. So
Right.
I hope that made sense. Yeah.
Lovely. That's some great advice, Shikto there. Nitya, in your case, if I have to, ask you this question, for a company like HUL and the brands that you are handling, where exactly did the digital journey start for you? And, looking back, is there a sort of a failed campaign that you look back to and say that, I might have done a better job on this if I would have applied some other strategies, right? Does that ever happen? And from these failed experiences, what sort of learning do you get?
That happens a lot, field experiences. And I think the good thing is that we're encouraged to talk about it. So we ensure that somebody else can pick up from those mistakes.
Sure.
I'll just give maybe 2 examples of a couple of mistakes that maybe I had made. And one of them a very new mistake, one of them a mistake that we didn't anticipate. The first one is, which goes against everything that we spoke about, is trying to personalize your offering too much. So we had a great product and we believed that a certain benefit made us stand out in the clutter of other products out there. And when we spoke to consumers who had that particular issue, we found that they were very willing to try out this product because of the benefit that we were offering.
Right.
But when we ran the campaign, we realized that it was just not working. And the reason it was not working was not because the benefit wasn't applicable to the consumer. It was because we couldn't find those consumers out there in the digital database. So sometimes I think it's good to mix analytical rigor with your consumer insights. So, and it's not always that your consumer insight will pan out in terms of execution. The good thing about digital, however, is what Sikto spoke about, is automation. With digital being bigger and with data being so central to everything that we do, it's important that we look at these things at an overall perspective so we can quickly pivot and make changes. And we did that. We did that in less than a month when we started the campaign, and it worked well for us. The second one, a very noob mistake, like I mentioned, was when we had run a campaign, we saw that we were getting a lot of traffic, but we weren't able to convert that traffic to final purchase. And we realized that consumer who came in, that traffic that came in, just didn't care about information. They just wanted to, have a no-nonsense purchase at the end of the day. And that becomes super critical. And we talk about it all the time, but sometimes we forget, in the excitement of telling the consumer more, we forget that we just need to ensure and have faith that the consumer understands that they want to buy this product and quickly lead them to purchase. Right. So I think these two are a couple of mistakes that we did. There's not a scientific nature to marketing as much as we would like to believe, but and that's why analytical rigor helps.
I think we just spoke about call to action that is associated with anything and everything that goes out. There's a specific purpose for which you are seeing something on your, mobile screens or anywhere you're consuming that. And I think that's where the ideation comes in. That's where you need to be aware of the kind of things that you can use, you can have in your arsenal to promote your product or your services to help you, become one of these marketers who are going to use digital marketing in a big way. AltUni along with HUL has come up with this interesting program. You can click on the link in the chat box. You can check about that program. You can learn more about what is the future of digital marketing going to look like. We are talking about it in detail with these two people from HUL who are giving us a lot of insight about the world of digital marketing and how the future is going to look like and how you can upskill yourself. All right, keep coming to questioning, keep asking those questions on the chat box. We will take in questions, as many as possible. It's time for me to pick a few of them. Let me have a look. And yeah, I think I have a question. I have an experience of 6 years in sales and hospitality. Will digital marketing help in boosting my career with more opportunities in other sectors too? I think we somehow answered. Nitya talked about it some time back. And if you are specifically from sales, Shrikant, I would suggest you go back to the chat and have a look. Okay. Is technology important to understand the data, or the data important? Is technology important or the data important? Do we have an answer to this? There's a question coming in from Kiara. I don't know how to make sense of it, but if you guys can, please.
I think both of them go hand in hand.
Correct.
You have data with technology coming on board. So, of course, I think technology is the backbone. Data are more of the signals that help a marketer to decide what needs to be done.
Right.
But yeah.
Absolutely. I'll just filter a few more questions. I'll see if we can take some. Okay. So Career Warrior, I don't know who that person is in the second year of EPGP MBA. After 11 years of experience in cybersecurity, I decided to go with marketing and strategy. Will this be a good step? Need inputs. It's a very specific career advice that Career Warrior is asking for. Do you have any answers? And you can help out.
Look, I'm sure it's a very personal choice of what you are keen to do. What we can definitely assure you that the world is moving towards the space of digital marketing for sure.
Right.
If you want to bet your money on something today, it's definitely digital marketing. And if you think that this space excites you to build brands, to build content, to build communication, etc., why not? Why not just dive in and you.
Lovely. Lovely. Nitya, I have a very specific question directed to you. What do recruiters like HUL? What do recruiters like HUL look for in a candidate applying for sales or marketing roles, and how to prepare for it? Very specific. We get this question all the time. People do want to get into your organization and do amazing work that you are doing. So what do they need?
So I think a few things actually, and I will be specific to if you're doing an MBA versus if you're not currently. If you're doing an MBA right now, ensure you have very strong sales and marketing fundamentals. Although a lot of what we learn was on the job, what we learned at least was on the job, I think it helps to have your fundamentals sorted in terms of your coursework. Another thing which is simplistic, which you don't really need to prep for, is having a logical bent of mind. I think that's something that all recruiters look for, and it helps if you're logical, even though you don't have the right answer. So a lot of times marketing is subjective. You need not have the right answer, but having a logical bent of mind helps. I think while a lot of you may not have experience in the field of marketing, if you've done some sort of internships, if you've done some projects, it helps you get practical knowledge, considering a lot of what you learn in this field is also to do with practical knowledge. I think that helps a lot. And overall, I think most important, so shouldn't have said this the last, is just having a good attitude. For HUL especially, you'll have to be open to experiences, open to locations, just, in general, having a good attitude and willingness to learn. I think these are not as specific in terms of how I mentioned them, but very important.
Lovely. Shikha, I'll get back to you. I'll ask you this specific question that I wanted to ask you. We have all seen how the pandemic is ruled. It has run havoc to a lot of companies and a lot of policies, a lot of ideas, a lot of what you call it, industry decisions changed overnight, right? In your case, something of that sort happened that you actually overnight had to change, or you have to apply those strategies to make sure that you get the best result out of the situation that you are in.
No, absolutely. We had to, like, if I think back to April 2020, we had to really overhaul everything. Because think of it like, at that point of time, I was managing this brand Clinic Plus, which goes to about 9 out of 10 households in the country. So imagine the back end of supply chain, everything that was needed for us to ensure that it still goes to the retailers, consumers come and buy. How do they come and buy if they're not stepping out? So we had to really overhaul our entire process. Yeah. So yeah, there was disruption for about a month or two. But let me also tell you that during these kind of pandemic times, brands which are really strong by their fundamentals, they really come to the to the top of things. Yeah. By simple logic that the weaker brands are something consumers don't trust that much. Yeah, the stronger brands, the more legacy brands are where consumers trust is higher. And normally in a pandemic kind of a situation, the consumer mentality also goes for just being a little risk averse. Yeah, that let me go with what I know. Yeah. So that way, we actually pivoted where we started spending more when people used to say that don't spend anything right now because nobody's buying. We rather took that opportunity because the buying rates for TV and everything were really low, because there was nobody who was willing to put out media or advertising.
Right.
So we are like, no, this is the time where we can actually go, and at a cheaper cost we can create our brand stories messaging a lot better. My brand was about this, it has always been about the mother-daughter relationship.
Right.
So we then crafted ads which are about a daughter who's missing going back to school, okay, and how her mother is giving her the strength to grow and learn. Yeah. So we pivoted really fast over a period of 3-4 months, and we came out as a really in a stronger position than where we were pre-COVID. Yeah. So a lot of changes, but I think a lot of good learning that happened during that time.
Absolutely. Chikto, Nitya, you have spent considerable amount of time at HUL. HUL itself is a company, and I have spoken to a lot of people who have worked in the system. And one thing that they mention is there's no 2 day that is same at HUL. You always get challenged. You always put to roles where you challenge yourself, and the managers and the people who are leaders, they want to see people grow within the system. What exactly are the things that you like about HUL, and why do you stay for so many years to do so many amazing things at a company like this?
Now, this has been a question that has been like I remember 9 years back when I had joined the company fresh out of college. Our like ex HR MC member, Mr. Vidappa, he came and he just casually dropped that, hey, I've been here in this company for 27 years. Yeah. And people, every person who came and spoke to us, there was this induction session that happened. Everybody came and said that, hey, I've been here for 15 years, 20 years, 11 years, and so on. And that evening, all of us were like, what is really the secret sauce that, everybody sticks around? Look, I don't think there is a straight answer to that question, even after spending 9 years. I can talk about my own experiences that HUL being such a giant company, it gives you a lot of opportunities to learn incremental things. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that after doing general trade, if I was given a role in e-commerce, it was completely an incremental set of learning that came my way. Yeah. At the same time, even if it's like, such a giant and such a huge organization, it is still very future fit. Like the current role that I'm doing, which is learning D2C, insurgent brands, social media, performance marketing, all of that. It's not something that, everybody in the FMCG world has thought through. So therefore, that thought leadership that comes, in an organization actual really pushes us to do new things, learn new things. And when you're engaged, when you're happy learning new thing, why will you leave? And of course you get paid really well. So yeah. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nitya?
So just adding to that, I think differential experiences, yes, what Sikto mentioned, being such a large company, if you want to do something different tomorrow, you have the opportunity to do it, right? You don't easily get bored in a place where you can have almost different careers every 2 years within the same company. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why people stick on, and that's one of the biggest reasons why people are able to be motivated every day. The second, I think, is independence of work and autonomy. I think autonomy is extremely high. We're all given the independence to figure out actions for ourselves. And obviously that comes with its own set of responsibilities. But I think it's almost like handling small companies by yourself. So you get everything. You have working in a large organization, having learnings from a large organization, you have having your own brands, your brand CEO. I mean, what more could you want?
Absolutely. And to the audience who's watching this, if you want a chance to stand out from the crowd, if you actually want to get an interview with HUL, there is a link that my team has been putting up. I've been talking about this particular program, the certificate program in digital marketing. Do check that out. Get this opportunity. Get this opportunity to be in the place where Shikta and Nitya are right now, and try out your skills, try out your caliber, try out your luck. On this note, Shikta and Nitya, one final word of advice on people who are genuinely interested in doing digital marketing. As we all mentioned in the entire 1 hour long conversation, that a lot of things are changing, right? And with a lot of changing things, what happens is you need to cope really fast with the changing world, and you need to be in that mindset where you say that, hey, if this is happening, if NFT is the future, I will look into it and we dig deeper and I'll understand what exactly is happening, right? If Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is something where the world is moving, I have to take my head or wrap my head around that and understand, because I don't understand finance and it's very intimidating for me. So I will not go there, is not an option. For people who are interested in making their careers in digital marketing, with the kind of changing times that we're living in, what is your advice and what does future hold for them?
Sure. I think, Paul, you rightly mentioned most of it, that because the world is changing so fast, we have to just A, stay updated with all of it. Okay. B, the way you will stay updated is just Google it. Yeah. That's as simple and, as short it can be. There is so much information that is out there. Honestly, be it this session, be it a Google course or something on Upgrad, or just, like I mentioned earlier, that, when you're consuming this digital platform, just try to put your marketing hat on. Yeah. Just stay like, very inquisitive of what's happening. Learn from YouTube videos, podcasts. Don't wait for for a job or an internship to learn it. Yeah, just do it on an everyday basis. You will be sorted.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's more complicated when we talk about it or when you read it than when you actually do it. I think relevant practical experience simplifies a lot of digital marketing for most people, for us as well. And I think if you're looking for a career here, just like Sikto said earlier, just dive in.
Absolutely. Just dive in, and that's the motto, and that's where we also come in. We want to help you guys out. There are people who talk to us, who tell us about their journeys, for it to become easier for you, for you to see that this is a blueprint that's already available. This is a journey that that person has already taken, so you can learn from that journey and try and gauge where you stand right now and what are the kind of skills that you need. As I've been mentioning again and again, there's a program that we are offering from AltUni and HUL. Do check that out. The certification program is definitely going to help you out. Thank you very much, Shikta and Nitya, for joining us today, giving us time and telling us about these amazing stories from the world of HUL and the kind of work that you guys have done and how the future is looking like in terms of digital marketing.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so
Paul.
much.
Thank you, everyone.